Ash, you have to quit. It's time to drop out, bro.
I honestly wish I could have heard this when I was thinking about dropping out. When I was in university, I used to wake up in the middle of the night with my heart racing at 1,000,000 beats per second just to scour YouTube and Google for the right answer. But the issue was, there was no advice that was 100% actionable, relatable, or 100% realistic on the advantages and disadvantages of this very, very hard decision. It was probably one of the hardest decisions of my life, and I would have died for the advice I'm about to give you right now. The first thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna create a detailed plan if you were to drop out. What I want you to do is get a piece of paper, okay, and you wanna write 2 columns on this piece of paper. You're gonna put best case scenario and worst case scenario. You're then gonna write out a 10-year plan as to what could happen in your business career, worst case and best case scenario. This allows you to logically look at your upside and downside. The reason why you wanna put it down on a piece of paper is it stops you from your emotional part of your brain clouding your judgment. You want to get as far from this as possible. The next thing you want to do is create a detailed 1-year plan after you decide to drop out. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. Just put very attainable goals at the end of each month of that year. Now, let me tell you what my plan was when I was thinking about dropping out. So this time I had already taken a year out to see the full potential of my business. I could see the upside of it and I could see the downside of it too. This allowed me to make a fully informed decision. This is one of the first things that I would recommend if you're thinking about dropping out of university to grow your business. This allows you to fully try out your idea and see if it will take off without the downside of burning your bridge with not being able to go back to university. Back then, my brother and I schemed a whole plan to take a whole year out of university without telling our parents. And throughout the whole year, we spent all of that time pretty much working on the business, putting every waking hour into actually growing it. But after doing some research, I actually found that you couldn't even take a year out without actually having a valid reason. This had ruined my whole plan. I was destroyed. I was so sad up until one night when I actually discovered a loophole. And what I'm gonna tell you isn't 100% ethical. But wait, one second, I'm not wearing the right shirt, hold on. That's better. Now, please do this at your own risk. It was my only option at the time, and it may be yours too. I actually found out from a friend that you can take a year out for medical reasons. Pretty much every university has to offer this. As you guys know about how I was experiencing anxiety and I was feeling really, really anxious about the whole situation, and I'm pretty sure anybody who would be in this situation will also be anxious too, I then decided to actually do something about it. So I went to go see a doctor about my anxiety, and while it wasn't overwhelming, I needed something in order to take a year out. And I went to the doctor, I then went to the university counselor so that it wasn't just out of the blue and it was on the university records. And then I approached the university after I had done all of this and explained that I was experiencing personal issues and I needed a whole year to basically work on myself and kind of beat this anxiety so that I could come back to medicine with a fresh head. And I didn't talk at all about starting or growing a business. Otherwise, they definitely would have not let me take a year out. Now, because it's the 21st century and mental health is taken very seriously, they pretty much didn't ask any questions after this. All they did was just send me some paperwork and hey gusto, I filled it out and I pretty much had a whole year out to basically work on my business. My mindset was if I fail and I give it my absolute all, at least I know that I've tried and then I can come back to university as a backup option. It seemed like a no-brainer to me to see if business was 100% for me. And again, being 100% transparent with you, I did have anxiety, but the degree of it was obviously something that was up for interpretation. You may have to stretch how bad your anxiety is, and only if you're comfortable in doing that. I think this is a really, really great play to buy time. Even if you don't have the worst anxiety in the world, I would still recommend that you do something like this, especially if you're desperate, just because bad choices love rush decisions. And you're probably in a scenario where you're trying to do university and also trying to run your business. And this probably means you're overworking, which also means you're probably not sleeping very well and you're not having a lot of time to actually think about your decisions in a logical frame of mind. On top of this, focusing on your business 100% will allow you to actually have some clarity with your life rather than a ton of different things happening. This allows you to really focus and make the best decision for you. This way you have the time to look at the disadvantages and the advantages of your businesses. And before you say that there's any disadvantages to your business, there's always disadvantages to your business. This is literally just the emotional part of your brain wanting to go do something else and do something different. And if you think about it, all the businesses that require very little investment and not the huge amount of skill typically always have some form of downside. And this is my message to all the people who want to start an online business that seem perfect just because some guru on a YouTube ad said so. Every make money online business has its downsides. It's just important that you know it. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't drop out and that you shouldn't pursue the world of business. No, it just understand the downsides just so that when you actually experience these downsides, you actually know what to do. And a great question to ask yourself is, would the business I'm starting be around in 20 years from now? And if the answer is no, that's fine. In fact, 95% of businesses actually fail within the first 5 years. That's completely fine. It's just important for you to know what your plan would be when that business stops working, and if you have a plan to actually start another business. And having this plan ahead of time is really, really important. And just so that you're well versed in this, I would recommend reading the books Why Moats Matter, Blue Ocean Strategy, and The Millionaire Fastlane to understand what makes a business successful over many decades. I honestly wish I knew some of the things that they talked about in those books when I was dropping out, so thank me later. Now, some people may say that I took advantage of the system by exaggerating my anxiety, but I actually have a counter argument for you, which is conveniently my next point. In fact, the whole education system is a lie and that they've been taking advantage of you instead. And without putting tin foil on my head, let me explain. From a young age, we've been brainwashed that university is the only way to go if you want to be successful. But that's actually completely wrong. You're literally so young and you have no fully formed opinion of the world, and then society comes in and forces you to think there's only one way to actually live your life. University was normalized by the media, your teachers, and even your parents. The whole culture dictates you must go to school, you must go to university in order for you to be successful and have a good job. But look at all of the people who are actually giving you that advice. Most of those people don't even make 40,000 a year. On top of this, many of the most richest people in the world have openly admitted the education system is extremely inefficient. A good example has been Elon Musk. Elon Musk has argued that you can actually pretty much learn everything on the internet and that everything is almost pretty much free. In fact, he's gone as far to take his children out the normal education system and build his own school and put his children in that type of school instead. And Musk isn't the only one who agrees with this. Billionaire Peter Thiel wrote in the book 0 to 1 that the education system basically creates a bunch of generalists. Instead, what we actually need is for the school system to teach us a bunch of specialist skills that are in need in the current market. And just to drive the point home even further, a lot of the top companies in the world actually have long training schemes after you graduate university in order for you to learn on the job. It almost seems inefficient to go to university for 3 years and then go and get training for another year when you're actually on your job. Why don't you just learn the training when you actually just joined the job in the first place? What is the need for university? Even for someone like me who's hired over 100 people, I have 25 people working for me right now, and I'm not sure which ones have been to university and which people haven't. In fact, I actually found out the other day that my assistant actually had an engineering degree. Now, with this being said, this does come with one big caveat, and I wish I knew this before I actually dropped out, which is if you want to build a business in a highly technical field, university can be helpful. And being straight up, let's just say that you wanted to start a biotechnology company that was wanting to cure cancer, as an example. Now, going to university here might actually be a lot more helpful, not just to learn the theory, but to actually have access to the labs, the research, and also there'll be a great network of people, all the professors and all of that could really be helpful for helping you grow your startup. I think it would be very, very difficult to collaborate with people if you weren't in this environment. Again, I'm not saying it's impossible not to do so, but I assume it would probably be a lot easier. Also, the great advantage of these highly technical businesses is that they have a high barrier to entry. It's not like every Tom, Dick, and Harry can actually just start a biotechnology company. You have to know what you're doing in order to start a business like this. It's not like starting some drop shipping business, which is selling shirts from China. This makes it a lot harder for other people to compete with you. Also, it's not like you can just buy some 997 course and get $500 that your dad gave to you on your birthday and then just start this business. These businesses need a lot of capital too. Or you would have to have a lot of money yourself to employ other experts in order for you to start these businesses. But it's likely you probably don't have that type of money. So in this case, you actually might need funding. So who do you actually get funding from? Well, investors typically actually give funding to people with a proven track record, someone who actually has experience in this field. And a lot of the time they do actually look at university. So a degree might actually help you here as well. That's a shock. I'm actually telling you that some of you should actually go to university. That's correct. So why didn't I personally stay at university? I mean, I hated medicine, and I hated the whole field of medicine too. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to start any of these highly technical businesses, even if they were very, very competitive. You could literally pay me all the money in the world, give me all the funding in the world, but if I can't work for 10 hours a day intensely on solving this specific problem that the business does, the business would never take off in the first place, and I would hate it anyway. It doesn't matter if the barrier to entry was higher. And I think this is a belief that could serve you very well too. If you don't enjoy the degree you're doing, you don't want to build a business within that industry, don't do the degree. Because at the end of the day, in order for you to achieve success, you need to put an inordinate amount of effort into something to actually get a return. And to put that much work into it, you really do actually have to enjoy it. Otherwise, you're not going to work hard in the first place. But again, logically, you probably already understand this. On top of this, before you even click this video, you probably already understood the logical reason of what you need to do already. You've probably been watching tons of videos already before you watched this video. So what's the real reason why you're not dropping out? Let's take it back to when I was laying awake at night, staring at Google for answers. What was the state of mind that I was in? I was scared. I knew logically what I needed to do, but my ego and my emotions were getting in the way. What if I go broke and need a job? What will my parents think? What will my friends think if I fail? What if I end up having to get a job at McDonald's? Look how egotistical I was. Have you noticed that all of these questions are coming from a place of scarcity? They're coming from a place of me, 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 me. Instead, why don't you ask these questions? If I were to not go to university, what opportunity would this give me? What will I be able to do with all this saved time and money? What kind of business could I potentially create that could change the world for the better? Look, your first business may not do this. It may not even be your fifth business, but at some point there will be something that you do within your business career that will have a huge and positive impact on the world, especially if you just keep trying. You have another 50 years of work ahead of you. You're telling me that if you don't put 50 years of hard work in, you're not going to see some level of success? There's literally no such thing as failure. When you think from this point of view, you can think about what you can give rather than what you can lose. This is when your perspective shifts and everything looks different. There are millionaires out there that would give all of it back just to be 10 years younger, just to get their valuable time back. So don't waste it. Don't be selfish and think about the good of humanity. If you enjoyed this video, I actually put a bunch of other videos in a playlist together that you should watch if you're thinking about dropping out. You can just click right here, and not all the videos are just by me, so there isn't all this bias. Thanks for watching.